Hello, welcome to the December wrap-up slash 2023 stats, right? In my normal shirt for this. If you can hear the dishwasher blowing, me, no you can't. No you can't. Pretend you can't. I am going to start with my overall year stats with a mix of graphs, and my own graphs for my own trackers, right? But I am going to have in like the chapters thing where the actual wrap up for the month goes or starts. So like if you want to skip the stats stuff, you can, right? Over all your stats stuff, because that's the stuff I like, so I'm doing it. But if you don't care, you can skip that. It's mostly just gonna be me saying, here's graph, here's another graph, oh look, it's another graph. So starting off, just one that I really like is the one that Storygraph has where it's a mood map, right? That's just like a line graph that shows the average mood of each month's reading, and the lower down it is, the sadder it is. I love how it's pretty average except for January. Just lovely, we love it. And then we have just a random graph that's the books read comparison to pages read. I do have my mouse here, and whatnot. I just like the comparison. I am pretty sure you can see that one month that's like very much more pages than books, right? Pretty sure that's the month I read War and Peace, because like that's the only explanation I can think of, right? My top 5 genres, technically 4 because YA isn't a genre, but romance and fantasy, then queer, I guess that's not really genre either, and then YA, and then historical. Also, according to Storygraph, the average length of books for me was 308 pages, and it took me an average of 3 days to finish each book, so that's cool. My top 3 authors were Katie Robert, not a surprise. Bisco Hattori, I think that's how you pronounce her name, the author of Oran, not surprised because I read like the first 10 or 11, something like that. And then Tessa Dare, also not surprised because I finished the whole entire series, but I also read another short story. And then I also read a collection that included her, so like not that big of a surprise. And then my average rating was 3.62. I think it's just like the graph that's all the books, right, in one graph. Or no, this was the one that's all the 5 stars. Surprisingly longer than I expected. I mean, I guess if you want, I'll put up this graph that they have for it's a line graph, or not, it's a bar graph, there we go, bar graph of my ratings. Mine is a pie graph for my rating, so I'll put the bar graph and then later I'll put the pie graph up. Look at me go. So June was my highest rated month for 4.12. We love that. February was my lowest, I knew this, with 2.94. And August was the month I read the most amount of pages, being 7,558 good times. The book I read that was most shelved was Song of Achilles, and the one that was least shelved was That's the Way Love Goes, and the one that was highest rated was A Prayer for the Crown Shy, which has an average rating of 4.5 on Storygraph. So all of this other stuff is, I think, partially wrong. My stats are more detailed, but the fact that I DNF 27 books, I'm pretty sure is accurate, and the fact that 51 of the books I read, so about a quarter, just over a quarter, because I did read 200, is just books that I owned, whether I bought them at the time or I already owned them and whatnot. That's that. Yay. Other graphs, we have these are all mostly gonna be pie graphs, by the way. For my stats, my personal stats that I made, the ones that is debuts versus read before / new to me authors, about half of them are from authors I've read before. Happy with that. You know, going on. Next up, we have the graph that is how I read them, audio versus ebook versus physical versus mixed media. Audio was higher than I expected, it's like over a quarter, but ebook was about as I expected, about half, being as I also dual read a lot of books that are ebooks, so a lot of the mixed media ones are also that. And then there's the age range graph, good times, mostly adult, fine with that, that's what I wanted. I've been trying to slowly lowered the amount of why I read because a lot of the times they're not my thing. So yeah, also the middle grade are just for credits. So there's that. But yeah, a lot more adult, especially since I've read a lot of romances, right? Than YA this year. Oh yeah, a really important graph is the books by authors of color versus not authors of color. It is over a quarter, which I am proud of. I would like to work up to a point where it's more half and half, but I am proud of me getting it up to more than a quarter of the books I've read being by authors of color. And then we have traditional versus indie versus self-published. About 2/3 of them are traditional published. I'm fine with that. I like that stat. I've been trying to read more indie or self-published books, right? In general, especially romances. The fact that I read a lot of romances helped with that. And then I think I read one companion novel. So, which was the Nick and Charlie book, right? So, the series graph is just, it's just saying that I mostly read series, right? But more standalones than I expected, which is good. I'm trying to finish series, not start new ones. Okay, now you can have the pie graph of my star rating. Good times. Look at it. Very colorful. Good times. There you go. And then I don't have any detailed things to say about that. I also have a graph for publication years. There's a lot more 2023 this year. Me doing that Kelly and reading ARCs, I think, helped with that. I kept up with new releases a little more than normal, and I'm fine for that, right? Because I knew that was an issue the past 2 years where I mostly read backlog books, especially from like the previous 5 years, not like that year. So then I have all these new books that came out that year that I wanted to read, so I try to keep up with those while also reading the backlog. And then we have the genres. We have the one that's the main genres, obviously. We have romance. I'm pretty sure the second place, that's about a quarter, is something like fantasy. Yup. Yeah. Lovely. And then we have subgenre. I'm pretty sure the highest are like contemporary and historical, because contemporary and historical romances, right? And then the other big one is romance itself, which I think is because fantasy romance. I think I read a lot of fantasy romance this year, so that's that for the year-long stats. Small break over. I had coffee. On to the monthly stats. First up, I read 19 books in December. 3,179 pages. A little bit over that because I worked on a book that I've been reading for like 2 months. And also, what was the other one? Oh yeah, I also started another book that I got like a third of the way through, so like a little bit more than that. I did 88.5 hours of audiobook. My average rating for the month was 3.68, which is about close to, I think, slightly above the yearly average, so happy with that. 3 rereads, 3 by authors of color. Genres, we got 1 anthology, 4 classics, please scroll down, 1 contemporary, an erotic, computer, was that so hard to scroll? 2 fantasy, 1 graphic novel, a horror, a mystery, 4 nonfiction, 3 romances, and 1 other. I don't remember what the other was. What we got, there was 6 audio books, 9 ebooks, 3 physical books, and 2 mixed media, which were both audio ebook, right? 15 were adult, 1 was a children's. We'll talk about it. And 4 were YA, 4 were debuts, 7 were from authors I've read before, and 9 were new to me. Ratings, there were 2 5 stars, 3 4.5s, 3 4 stars, a 3.75, 2 3.5s, 6 3 stars, a 2 star, a DNF, and 1 I didn't rate. Okay, on to the actual books. Actual books. Any vlog I mentioned will be up above the cards, as well as just the podcast in general. And yeah, people are walking down the stairs, but I'm ignoring it. First one was Bleeding Earth by Caitlin Ward for the weekend reading vlog. which I rated 2 stars. It will in June be a podcast episode. I pulled it out of the jar and then I went, isn't this a June episode? And I went, oh yeah, it's like that last episode of June. And then I started it and I hated it. I hated the main character. I despised her. The actual like apocalypse aspect was a little interesting. This thing where like suddenly one day the earth just starts bleeding. Blood and bone and hair just starts coming up from the earth's surface and starts flooding everything. All the water goes bad, people go crazy. It reminds me of Dread Nation, and like it's supposed to be about how humanity reacts in an apocalyptic situation and whatnot, and survival and what it means to be human, blah 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 blah. Except Dread Nation did it good. This was not good. I gave it 2 stars. And then for the vlog where I tried to finish all the reading challenges I was in the middle of before the end of the year, which you will hear me talk about a lot because I did it for like the whole entire month. I have Bad Feminist by Roxane Gay. It was like on my 23 in 2023, but also was a nonfiction, so like could knock that off. I liked it, rated it 4 stars. I think there was only one essay in it that I didn't like, right? And by didn't like, I mean I didn't really understand the point of it in this book, and also it was kind of long for an essay that I didn't understand the point of it. But otherwise, I liked it. It was good. Highly recommend. And then I read the first physical book, Orbiting Jupiter. This was the favorite of the year. Or the month, not the year. The favorite of the year was Blood Mark, let's be real. This was the favorite of the month. I rated it 5 stars. I cried. There's a podcast episode. I cry in the podcast episode talking about this book. It's really good. Fish also rated 5 stars. They did not warn me about the dog dying, because that's a scene in this. But yeah, it's really sad and really short. I 100% believe the teacher who had my sister read this in like 8th or 9th grade did not read it beforehand and did not understand, right? That this is very heavy. So yeah. Also one of the like 16 bajillion books I read this month, at least feels like it, where it takes place in May. Like they go to Brunswick. I used to live near Brunswick, right? Like that's just weird, right? Apparently I read all the physical books back to back. Next up was another of the Try and Fish reading challenges. I did Beowulf as reread for classics, knocking off another classic. I think I upped my rating from a 4 to a 4.5. I still really like this. Justice for Grendel's Mother. The dragon was also technically not doing anything wrong, and they just killed the dragon. But definitely Justice for Grendel's Mother. Okay, they went into her home and killed her after she just killed one of their guys because they literally brutally maimed and killed her son. Right? Right? So, you know, Justice for Grendel's Mother. And then same thing, Bluest Eye, 4.5 stars. This was really good, very sad, heartbreaking. I mean, from the first line, you know it's heartbreaking, right? But yeah, it was really good. I think this is her debut, too. Yeah, and I think it took something like 10 years to get it written and published. Wild. I looked into it. I don't remember how long exactly, but I did look into it and whatnot. But yes, read this. And then for another podcast episode, the sequel to the last book I read in November, actually. Born Madly, the sequel to Born Darkly. I rated it 3.5 stars. It wasn't as good as the first one. I think I rated it the same as I did the first one, maybe a half star lower. I liked it. It was fine. It just wasn't as good. But it was definitely interesting. Good times. It was very obvious that he wasn't actually dead. They try to do like the whole thing where they're like, oh no, he's dead, but then like at the very end of the last chapter you learn he's not actually dead and they're happily together. The end. Yeah, kind of guessed that. Ninth House again for the vlog where I was trying to finish the reading challenges. That was part of the 23 and 2023. I actually really liked it. The reason why I gave it 3.75 is because I mixed up with another book, so in my head I thought it was something else, and 2, also it kind of put me in a reading slump for like a whole, like I basically did not finish a book for over a week because of this book. Like I was reading like maybe a chapter at a time, but the chapters were like 20 pages, and so I finally picked up the audiobook as well and read along on my phone on the ebook, and that's what made me finish it. And I did really like the audiobook, and it was really good. I did like it, right? Like I think it would have been a 4 if it wasn't for that. I like the twist at the end that leads to the second book. I did just get the loan from the library for the second book, but like it's just audio, and I want both audio and ebook, so I gotta wait for the hold to come in for that one, right? But yeah, I read that. Also, it was like just short of 500 pages. But yeah, it was good. Liked it. One Bed for Christmas for the Christmas romance vlog. It was like under 100 pages. It was fine. 3 stars. Very repetitive for a book that's under 100 pages. Okay. That's like my main complaint, but it was good. Now that I don't have to reach for physical books, I can just hold my coffee. The one that was a surprise for the Christmas vlog was Window Shopping by Tessa Bailey. I had literally almost every single person I watch or read reviews from who has read this book rated it 3 stars or lower. The only one who didn't was someone, I think there's like one person I follow who didn't do that, right? And so I went in hesitantly, not expecting great things. I had a great time. I was having such a good time. Oh my god. It was the winner of the vlog. It was so good. I liked it. The main character, it's very Grumpy Sunshine, but she's the grumpy one, right? She recently got out of prison for a robbery, and she is looking for a job, living in the city, getting back to normal life. Meets this guy in front of a display window. It was like her dream job before she went to prison, right? And so she like explains why the window display isn't good, and he's all like, hey, maybe you should apply for the position because he's the like manager. She's like, maybe he's the manager or something. Technically owns like majority of the company, right? And it's like this upper scale place, so like all the stuff. She gets the position. They have a low-key romance, but he's all like, listen, we can't be together unless if we sign a contract that makes it so like I'm not your boss, because I don't want to pressure you and whatnot, right? And it was really good. The only reason I didn't give it 5 stars and I gave it 4.5 is because of the stuff with the toxic friend who she went to prison with. The fact that she got out on parole right after she got released for like doing her time, right? And she was the one who shot a guy. And then no one, like, she 90%, 100% should not be able to be in the same city as her. So the fact that like she was able to like go to her apartment and stay with her for a bit, but like she put up boundaries, and I'm very proud of her for that. Yay. Good times. It did very much feel like, though, when she put up those boundaries, it was like the friend all of a sudden was like, oh, I'm sorry, and they're friends again. And I was just like, in my experience, not how it works, but okay. For the finishing challenges, this is the children's one, because alphabet reading challenge, I was having difficulty with that one, so I kept making this joke about what if I reread The Very Hungry Caterpillar for the first time since I was like 8. So I did. This is the one I didn't rate for obvious reasons. It took me 5 seconds. It was fine. I'm pretty sure it's somewhere in my attic. And also it counts as a classic. I would like you to know this. Yeah, it's fine. I read A Christmas Carol. Seemed like a fitting time. 1, classic for finishing reading challenges, right? 2, it's Christmas time. 3, one of the book clubs, it did have that as the book for it. They released out was what the book was the day after I got my loan from Libby. Read it 3 stars. It was fine. I get why people like it. In the end, right? And then we have the last one for the Christmas romances, which is How the Duke Stole Christmas, which is a collection of 4 novellas by 4 romance authors. I have still a sticky note where I wrote down my notes for each story, so I will do that. I'm pretty sure this book is like 50% of the vlog. So like go watch that if you want more details. but the first one was The Test of Dare. I rated it 3 stars. It's fine. Same issues I have with most short Test of Dares, right? The second one was the Sarah McLean, and sadly I skipped that one. I got about a third of the way through that one, and I skipped it because that was not romance to me. Thank you very much. Okay. And then I read Eris Alone. That one was the one that had the most chances, right? Like, I was really expecting to really like it, but it was very mid, and then there were some little things at the end I didn't like, so 2.5. And then that one was by Sophie Jordan. I didn't say that. And then the last one was by Joanna Shoop. I didn't write down when I rated it, but I think I went with 4 stars. That one was my favorite in the collection. It was good. Again, the ending was very rushed and whatnot, but like overall very good. Like, it was so funny. I don't know if it was supposed to be funny, but I was laughing my ass off. I gave the whole collection 3 stars because it's like a 3.08888 repeating for the average of the 3 if you ignore the DNF. So I did that because 2 point something did not feel right. Then the DNF we have for the fans. It was supposed to be a podcast episode. It was not. I didn't like it. Okay, I'm gonna explain it same way I explained it to the fish. Basically, it gave me Trissix Venom, right, which is a book I DNF'd last January, but men and their stepbrothers. That is like the main difference, right? As much as I read how much of it? I read 68 pages of it, so that's like a sixth of it. It's very long. It's nearly 600 pages, right? And so I don't know how to describe it. It's the same thing where like there's internalized homophobia making one of them treat the other one very poorly. And I get it, but also like I don't want to read that. I don't like that. That's why I DNF'd Trissix Venom. That's why I DNF'd this one. And then right when I said that, I went onto the author's page and I learned that Penelope Douglas is labeled the first one as like her inspirations. So found that funny. The fish is liking it though. So like also for the podcast, is not an episode yet because life things happened. So we'll see if it becomes an episode still, because I didn't take any notes, thinking that we were gonna like record it the next day, and then that didn't happen because the fish wasn't home and I then left home, so like, you know. But it was The Coldest Touch. The audiobook, it was fine. 3.5 stars. I liked the whole like seeing people die thing, was very interesting. That type of thing is like, I think we both like. The vampire stuff was cool. The politics was interesting. The mysteries were kind of obvious, right? And the plot twists were kind of obvious, like very obvious. My main issue with it was that it felt like it was supposed to be the first book in a series, but they decided to not go through with it because it didn't get enough popularity, right? And so it very much feels like it's not finished, right? At least like it feels like it should have a sequel, right? Like at least one, but no. And then the rest of these are, except for one, which is the graphic novel, for the reading challenges walk. So keep that in mind. There we go. Can't speak words. First Hamlet, I rated 3 stars. It was good. I liked it. It was a reread. I forgot I had read it in high school. I rated it 2 stars then. The ending was hilarious. I don't think it's supposed to be the end. There was Paris the Memoir by Paris Hilton and her ghostwriter. I'll give her this. She does say that like it is ghost written and whatnot. She does narrate it herself. I was not expecting what I got into, okay? But it is kind of funny despite the fact that things happen. 5 stars. I was screaming, crying, freaking out. Yeah. And then I read I'll Be Gone in the Dark, which I started as ebook, and then I finished as both dual audiobook and ebook, and whatnot. When I went to pick it up, didn't know the author was dead. 2, didn't know it was published after she died. 3, that she was married to Patton Oswalt, because I went, wait a second, why did he write the afterword for this? Which was very funny because I had just started my rewatch of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and I had just gone to the point where he's in it, okay? And so I was like, wait a second, what is he doing here? So then I had looked it up and figured it out, right? It pretty much goes into it in the intro, right? And then also the ending goes into it, but it's very well written. I very much agree with basically everyone else that came together to finish this book. It talks about how the way she wrote about crime and whatnot, she put the human element back into it, and took care of the victims and all this stuff. And so I very much agree with that, the way she wrote it. I've read a lot of true crime this year, thanks to book club. This was one of the book club picks for that book club, actually, that I wasn't able to pick up at the time, so I didn't. But a lot of people really liked it, so I decided when I was able to read it. But yeah, I gave it 4 stars. It's good. Then I read 0 Days by Ruth Ware. Just another mid Ruth Ware for me. I don't know. That one was the Fish, the alphabet reading challenge. And it was fine. Right? Like, it was okay. Moving on, like, I felt about the same way I felt about the It Girl. Every Ruth Ware, I've only read her once post 2019. Like, one by one, the It Girl and this one. And every single one of them have been very mid or lower. And so I feel like I should read more of her backlog because those seem more my speed. But I haven't just had the chance. And, like, I'm hesitant because I keep on reading the new ones and then being like, this is so mid. Also, the length of it is about, like, the actual book length is, like, about the same as I'll Be Gone in the Dark. But the audiobook is 4 hours longer. Make it make sense. Or something like that. I think it's 4 hours. But still, it's obscene. I had it up an obscene high at speed because I was like, this is so slow. And I was very bored. And the fact that she was friends with the police officer at the end, no, she should have sued the shit out of them. Thank you very much. The end. Like, there was police brutality and they had to do surgery and because of it and whatnot. But, you know, let's be friends with the police afterwards. Makes 0 sense. 3 stars. The graphic novel was Slip, which Bessie told me to read. It was fine, 3 stars. It's about an artist who goes to, like, this summer camp like thing or retreat to work on her art, but, like, her art is coming to life. And when it's doing that, it's telling her the story of her friendship with her best friend who has recently tried to commit suicide twice. And she doesn't know how to, like, be friends with her if she won't talk to her about any of this. And then also at the same time, she's, like, having fun at this camp, like, has a girlfriend, all this stuff. And so she's, like, trying to deal with all these feelings, and whatnot, and all this other stuff. The ending felt rushed. Can you catch a theme for this month for me? But overall, it was fine, 3 stars. And then the last one, which was the last nonfiction, to finish reading 12 nonfictions, and also part of the 23 and 2023, which I did not finish, was Disfigured, a book that's been on my TBR since it came out, and I finally was able to pick up. Literally took me forever. You'd think I would be able to get it here easily, because, like, I'm pretty sure it was published in Canada. The only place I could get it from was from Canada. Right? I'm right next to Canada. Right? But, like, I couldn't get it. Okay, I had to pretend I was in California to get it. You didn't hear me say that. I have a California library card. It's fine. But anyways, I read it. It was good. I liked it. It was heartbreaking and whatnot, but also informative at the same time. She did a good mix of talking about her own personal struggles, both in childhood and adulthood, and also her identity as being not that bad, right? Her words. But also talking about the issues that everyday people with disabilities go through in just the everyday. And then literally 24 hours, less than 24 hours actually, after I read it, I saw an Instagram reel of this woman who has, like, with a disability, who has a service dog, being stalked in the grocery store because she brought her dog into the grocery store and she had to leave. And it's just, the fact that it happened back to back. Anyways, I got very angry at that video, at that lady who was stalking her. And this book was really well written. Good mix. 4 stars. Do recommend. And that was the last one. The end. We're done. I don't think it's too long. I think it's fine. Anyways, I'm gonna go. Next video. Videos are, except for the times that like TBRs or wrap-ups need to be, only on Wednesdays. From now on, for the most of the year. Yeah, I think that's how I planned it. The next video will be next Wednesday for the weekend reading vlog. So, good times. And then the podcast. Good times are about to happen. This whole entire month, the fish does host, but off of my notes about weird erotica romances. Okay, so it's gonna be a good time. And with that, I'm gonna go export all of these so I can edit it. Good times. And finish my coffee.